What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy NBA Tonight, a hoop-ball.com presentation. I'm your host, Vince Miracle, and joining me every single Tuesday, the older one, the better one, the cooler one, because he's with me, Riaz Dhanani. Riaz, how's it going?
Hey, you called me the better one this time. I like that. Hey,
Yeah,
Vince, I'm just trying to, trying to get through the night here. I think it's actually good for our readers and our viewers and our fans and everything to get their mind off of what's the events of tonight and just get back into basketball. Let's just keep it simple.
I don't know what event you're talking. Are you talking about the fact that Jokic was actually playing good, but it came at the loss because of the buzzer beater? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what it was?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing big happening tonight. Just an average Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is a pretty big day in the United States of America as of what's happening and what's currently going on right now. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I'm watching the games. I'm seeing the box scores. Of course, I saw the buzzer beater. I was watching that live, and it was amazing. It was cool. But I'm not really into that right now. I'm kind of in my own little world, trying to figure out who's gonna be the new commander in chief. Um, that all being said. And now with that now out of the way, I do want to remind everyone that this is Fantasy NBA Night and this is a hoop-ball.com presentation. And what we like to do here on this show is answer all of your fantasy basketball questions. Now, whether that no matter what league you're in, or what type of league you're in, or the size of your league, send in your question down in the live chat, and Riaz and I will be here and we're ready to answer all of your fantasy basketball questions. Riaz, it was a big night in the NBA and it's still going on to this minute, but a lot of things have happened. Brooklyn, they got their third win of the season. They're 3-4. They're one game under 500 after defeating the 1-5 now. Wow, who would have thought that would have actually been happening to start the season? The Atlanta Hawks snapped an 11-game losing streak to the Cleveland Cavaliers, beating them 110 to 106. Denver got the steal. Gary Harris is looking good in his minutes. Jokic finally becomes a clutch player in the fourth quarter. Point 0.7 on the clock, I think, was a little friendly, a little too nice, but Vince Carter has one of the best inbounding passes in the NBA, and Marc Gasol gets the buzzer beater win. We're seeing a close one go down in the fourth quarter right now in Portland between the Portland Trailblazers and the Phoenix Suns. So that's been interesting to watch. Dallas is holding off the Los Angeles Lakers, but I will say one thing. There's ice in those veins because D'Angelo Russell is starting to heat up a little bit in the fourth. And of course, the Sacramento Kings are trying to fend off the winless New Orleans Pelicans right now. And I'm currently watching that game while also watching Twitter to see what's going on with our commander in chief and who will it be? Will it be option one? Option two? I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, but I will say this. I voted before we get into these questions. Riaz, did you vote?
Yes, I did. Of course, I did. I think that everyone needs to get out there and exercise their right. There's a lot of people that fought for this country for that right. So definitely was out there.
All right, so we're gonna move over to the chat here. It says, "Is Rudy Gay's production sustainable?" Also, there are a few trade rumors. Is there any good places to hope he lands? And this question comes from Tama, who was the very first question in the chat. So guess what? We're going to start doing something here soon. We don't know what it is, but whoever is the first one in the chat, when we post it out there, it could be as soon as the show go live. It could be anything, but that person is going to get something very special. We don't know when that's actually going to start yet. While Rudy Gay just did a monster dunk against the Pelicans, but something will be happening to the very first person who stirs up a conversation in the chat room moving forward. But Riaz, I want to throw the question to you first. Is Rudy Gay's production sustainable? And if he does get traded, where are some places that you hope that he lands so his production does not go down a lot, or if any?
You know, I struggle with this because I'm a Rudy Gay owner in every single league that I play in, and I am absolutely loving his hot start to the season. Rudy Gay is a guy that he scores the basketball, he does it all. He hits 3 pointers. He's had some high rebounding games too. He's very involved in this Kings offense, and the fact that they lost Rondo in the offseason, it kind of gives him the ball in his hands a lot more. So he's doing good things with that basketball, and you know, I would say that it's sustainable. It actually is. It's one of those guys that it's almost like you hit the jackpot if you drafted him late in your drafts. He fell all the way to the sixth round in one of my leagues, and I scooped him up, and I'm definitely reaping the rewards right now. And is he, where would I like to see him go? I've struggled with that question. As I said, I'm an owner myself. Miami Heat could use a small forward like that, just given the fact that they have the big man, they have a point guard, but everything in between is kind of in flux, and so that would be good for his value. But I know we've talked about this before on this show that maybe the Clippers would be a ideal landing spot for him, although his usage rate would go down pretty far. So Vince is out there in Kingsland, so I'm going to let you take the reins on this one.
Sorry, I know you were probably looking at me thinking I was all crazy, but I just saw a no look from Rudy Gay up to a Willie Cauley Stein, who is actually having a great night tonight. He's finally breaking out. We've been high on Willie Cauley Stein, especially Brewski was in the Brewski 150 for those who got to see where he landed. Yes, that's right. I'm hinting at stuff. And if you have the premium membership after this week, we can actually talk about exactly where he landed. So where do I think Rudy Gay's production is going to be sustainable? Yes, as long as he's with the Sacramento Kings, his production is sustainable. Now, where he lands is going to be a huge question mark. There's so many rumors. The Ricky Rubio, what's going on in Phoenix right now? There could be drawing up interest for Brandon Knight, who is not fitting in right now as the team's sixth man. So there still could be lingering interest there from the Sacramento Kings. But I think no matter where he goes, what you're gonna. The team knows what they're gonna be getting from Rudy Gay. I'm also watching the game right now. That's why you guys see me looking over here. I think everyone knows what they're going to be getting from Rudy Gay, especially the team that goes to him. So I don't think his production takes a huge hit no matter where he goes. But to keep it sustainable and to keep it where he's at and the level that he's playing at right now, he is currently the second option for this team. He's a good second option. His ball handling ability has gone down, so I don't see him too much more of as a on the ball type of dominant player. But he's a good passer. He can post, like I'm seeing right now against Dante Cunningham. He's a willing passer, and he's also a willing shooter, and he's a capable scorer. So he's going to be doing a lot of things for the Sacramento Kings. If he goes anywhere else, I think he's going to be a number 3 option. I think that's what he should be known as a number 3 option on a good team. And yeah, so that's what I think about Rudy Gay. I don't think his production goes down at a lot, but I do think to keep it sustainable and to keep it where it is, he needs to stay with Sacramento Kings. But I don't know if that's going to be for the whole entire season. I think you're going to hear a lot of trade rumors come February. Our next question comes from David Rumpler. Says, I had Aminu. I dumped him for Harkless. Smart or dumb?
I don't think that it's necessarily a dumb move. I see that Aminu is a lot higher drafted. He actually got injured a little bit tonight. He had a little calf strain there, so hopefully that's not long term. But I do think that Harkless is putting up good numbers right now. Both are very comparable between each other, but I think I would rather have Aminu just because he gets those starter minutes and he's a guy that can get you those defensive stats. Whereas Harkless is a little bit not as guaranteed to play big minutes at all times, and so I would prefer Aminu, but I don't think it's a dumb move by any means. I think Harkless is playing really well right now. The roster guys for me.
Yeah, I think for rest of season outlook, I think I'm leaning more towards Aminu. I think you see the minutes are going to be there for Aminu. I think at some point they're going to start looking at there's going to always be a cap. I'm going to rephrase what I was about to say. There's always going to be a cap on Harkless, only because Aminu is now the 4. He's the stretch 4. He's that guy who's going to be that 4 for that team moving forward throughout the entire season. And at the small forward spot, you have Alan Crabb, Evan Turner, Harkless, and whoever else they want to roll out there. And so I just think there's always going to be a cap on what Harkless does. And he followed it up by saying Aminu's killing his field goal percentage right now. And that's true. He is. But normally I think you're going to see it upgrade up to right around, or at least see an improvement up to right around 44%, which I don't think is terrible, especially from the small forward spot. But what you're really getting him for is not for the field goal percentage, although I do think it's going to go up. I don't think he's going to keep taking so many 3-pointers on the season. Just throw a little nugget out there for Portland Trailblazers fans. That was my game of the week on the King's Court podcast, and I actually had David Deckard of the Blazers Edge join my show, and he talked a lot about Al-Farouq Aminu. If you guys want to go check that out on iTunes. But he's taking a lot of jumpers right now. And yes, he went down with the calf strain. It didn't look too serious. He was able to walk on his own. He stayed in the game until they were able to call a timeout. So I don't think it's going to be anything long term, but with calf strains, you really don't know. But yeah, I think rest of season outlook, I'm still leaning toward Aminu, and I think you are too, right?
Yeah,
Riaz?
correct. Yeah, I think Aminu is just a little bit of the safer pick there, but yeah, still end of the roster guy for me.
Roderick de Guzman. What's going on, Robin? Roderick. Whom should I drop when Crowder returns? I think it's RHJ or Terrence Jones. Also, should I drop the other guy for Harkless or Chris instead? Thanks.
Okay. Let's see. I would think that it depends on what your team DNA is. There, RSJ is, he plays the guard spot. He has more. He's more of a steals guy. He can hit some threes for you, and so he does a little bit more of a guard role. Terrence Jones is more of, he'll get you some more rebounds and some blocks and things like that. So if I had to pick one just out of the, without wondering what stats it is, I guess I would go. I would keep RHJ and I would drop Terrence Jones. Um, but I don't think that adding Marquise Chris is the worst thing in the world right now either, because his per 36 is actually pretty high. He didn't have the best night tonight so far, but that's a guy that's, Earl Watson has said that he could last in at the starting spot. So in a fast paced offense, that might be a guy that, as rookies develop throughout the year, he might be a guy that could carve out a nice role. So for me, it might be a toss up between RHJ and Marquise Chris, more so than Terrence Jones.
Yeah, out of the two, I'm dropping Terrence Jones 100%. I think RHJ is one. I said it on last night's show with Jake Cousins, and really, this guy is going to do a little bit of everything for that Nets team moving forward. Yes, they have Jeremy Lin. Yes, they have Brook Lopez, who I think everyone knows. I think there's a good chance he gets traded at some point, but Ron Hollis Jefferson is their really only young true prospect that has a lot of potential. You can mention Sean Kilpatrick. I think he's more of like a CJ Miles type of player that's doing a little bit more for a bad Nets team. But I mean, with what Rondae Hollis Jefferson can do, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and a 3-pointer tonight, and only 2 turnovers. The guy's having the ball in his hands. He shot 75% from the field. He went 6 of 6 from the free throw line tonight in a win over a young, athletic Minnesota team. So I think there's a lot of promise there. With Terrence Jones, for one, Alvin Gentry does not like to play him for some reason, and we're seeing that. It looks like he's getting minutes tonight, but even then, he's so inconsistent, and I don't know what Alvin Gentry is going to do. And the funny thing is that he's probably the perfect fit next to Anthony Davis, and yet they're not even looking at that. So I'm going with RHJ for rest of the season outlook. But Terrence Jones is someone that you're always gonna have to have on your watch list because he does have the potential to be like a top 75 guy, and it's hard to come across that on waivers. So if you can't not keep your eye on him, but he's going to hurt you at times too, and that mainly because of Alvin Gentry. Would you trade John Wall for Oladipo and Tobias Harris? Ooh, no, I don't think I would.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that. John Wall he's just one of those really elite players. A lot of times it is better when you do a 2-for-1, but in this case, with Oladipo's struggles, and Tobias Harris has also kind of started out hot, and now he's going through a week where he's not contributing as much. I would still want that stud player, in John Wall, and that's a guy that can really carry your team in a lot of categories. So. For me, I would want more for one of my best players.
I mean, you brought up the two questions I'm thinking about right now, David. Is Wall's assists are fairly important to my team and makeup, but Harris is playing great, and Depot will get better. I mean, you have to look at the makeup of your team. If John Wall is such a huge factor to it, and so are the assists. I mean, you're not going to get that from Victor Oladipo or Tobias Harris. So you're basically getting rid of all of your assists when you do that. I do think Oladipo's assist numbers will get to right around 5. I don't see why they couldn't. He's already improving as it is. 2 3-pointers a game, 16.6 points, some rebounds. And sorry, I'm again looking over at the game where the Pelicans are making a strong comeback. But yeah, I mean, Wall is just he's a solid second round player. I mean, he's been living in that second round value for such a long time, and I just don't see that changing at all in the near future. So again, I see the potential and why you'd want to pull the trigger on that trade. I mean, do you think Oladipo and Tobias Harris together combined to make up what John Wall does for your team, especially the way John Wall started the season? Riaz?
I'm not so sure that they do. And then you have to remember that there's also another player that you're using instead of one of those guys. So whoever that X player is, even if it's a waiver wire guy, add him to John Wall's stats there 2 for 2. And I'd still prefer having the better player.
mean, yeah, John Wall has just been playing out of his mind. 46.5% from the field, 83% from the free throw line. He's just under a three-pointer. He's at 0. 0.6, 21.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, 9.6 assists, 2.4 steals. I mean, the turnovers is what kill you. I'm gonna lean toward no, but I mean that's a very tough decision, and I would understand why you'd go the other way as well because the upside for Oladipo is there as well. So I know that's kind of like a wishy-washy answer, but I'm gonna say I'm leaning slightly toward John Wall. I'm looking to see if there has been an announcement at all. It doesn't look like there has been. Do you see anything over there with what's going on with our presidential election?
Nothing official yet. I mean, we all know where this is headed, but nothing official, at least by CNN standards right now. They're still counting up votes there in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So,
Well,
uh,
with that said, I think this would be a good time to once again pause the show to remind everyone that this is Fantasy NBA Tonight, and this is a hoop-ball.com presentation. And on Friday and on Monday, you guys got to see MTV Vince's Cribs. But today I'm back in the office. My hair is done, and this was not done in 30 seconds. This actually took a solid 45 seconds before I woke up this morning, and it has stuck all day. That's right. And then look, I'm looking a little bit cleaner. I grew. This grew in 2 days, Riaz. This little prickly stuff grows in 2 days. It's ridiculous. I need to wax that thing or something because this is the only thing I keep. This is what the ladies love right here. This is it. This
dude,
is
it's
it.
No Shave November. You got a good excuse. You can grow that out all the way until the end of the month.
Yeah, see, but when I do that, I'm telling you, it does. For one, you see this little patch? That's a weird patch. I get this weird patch like right here, like oh, like this is my hair, and then it comes over. It's awkward, and I don't like looking awkward. Plus, my girl doesn't like it. She says I look weird, and I look like a human teddy bear, and that's not cool at all. Because then anything I say is not authoritative enough. My daughter doesn't even take me seriously. She's 3, so there's things like that. But with that all being said, like I said, this is Fantasy NBA Tonight Live. I'm your host, Vince Miracle, and the person talking to me and basically pretty much laughing at me, and rightfully so, because I'm a clown here on this show. That's Riaz Dhanani. This is a hoop-ball.com presentation. I want to remind everyone that this is the final week for Fantasy NBA Tonight Live. That's right. This will be the final Tuesday show until we move over to the premium in-season membership only. So for you guys to go get it, I've actually left a link down in the description below. It's $19.99, but if you use promo code SWISH all week long, you'll actually get 15% off. They've added some great things over there, like the ad sit tool or the play sit tool that literally tells you point blank who you should play and who you should not play, who you should sit, who you should play. And it breaks it down from the numbers, red to green, why this player is good, whether this person has a 3-game week or a 4-game week. That is all in there, as well as a lot of the analytical numbers that you guys are seeing right now. I'll also bring up for DFS players who are looking for in-season, for why this in-season membership would be good for them. And you guys are getting a little sample of it this week, as well as John Shifley has this brand new thing that they're working on. So they have the module going on. They just released it earlier this week, and it's working. It's hitting. He had players that I didn't even think about with Kemba Walker, 14% owned, right? When Steph Curry had his night last night, he was 14% on. He had 46.5 FanDuel points and helped me win some money. So it's things like that. We're growing. The in-season membership is going to continue growing all season long. You guys are going to want to be a part of it. Again, hoop-ball.com. Click on the premium membership, and there you'll find it for $19.99. It's a completely low price. And then after next week, it turns to $29.99. So you guys go get it while it's cheap. Use promo code SWISH for 15% off $19.99. What deal is better than that? What deal is better than that?
There's not much out there. I mean, this is the one, and he's going to help you win money. I love the product. It's great. It's great analysis.
Cruz Tuba Moncaro says, "Is 30 minutes what we should expect from Gary Harris?" Question mark.
You know, it's funny because tonight coming in, there was a note about him being limited to 20-minute cap, but here he is playing 30 minutes, and he just came back pretty much this week. It's been what, his 3rd game so far. So, yeah, I would expect to see in the high 20s and 30s. You know, tonight was a close game between them and Memphis, obviously. So he remained in the game pretty late, but you know, he's a big player for the Denver Nuggets. They count on him. He's a starter. You know, if you held on to him through these first 2 weeks with his injury, I know I did. He's paying dividends right now, and he's gonna hopefully play like this moving forward. So yeah, I would expect a high 20s, low 30s for Gary Harris.
I'm looking at 30 minutes and maybe even a couple more for a guy like Gary Harris. They're just getting him reacclimated with his NBA legs and trying to figure everything out right now. I'm sorry. I'm reading. I don't. Is there has there been an official announcement for the presidential? You guys, that's right. We're keeping you up to date with what's going on. Did you see an official announcement, or am I just reading things of people saying that someone has possibly won?
I mean, I haven't seen an official announcement. I'm not watching the TV right now, but I mean, it's been it's been a few hours now that it's been said and done, but they're still counting votes. So
If they're still counting votes, that means there's no official answer yet, which means I can continue to move on and read more down these questions. But to answer your question, uh, Cruz, yes, I do think he's going to get 30 minutes. I think you can even expect right around 32 minutes per game, and his production will continue to improve as the more games he starts playing. And you're right, he was supposed to have a cap on his minutes going into the game. So the fact that he played 30 minutes is a good sign. I think that means there's good communication between him and Malone, and they're talking about how they need a grittier player, a stronger player, and things like that. Someone who can knock down shots. Harris fills those voids for that team, and he played a big role down the stretch of that Memphis game, getting that steal on Mike Conley. Still ultimately ended in a loss, but he played a key role for that team in his 30 minutes. Next question comes from Roderick again. It says, "Time to roster Seth Curry, or is it just a product of D. Will sitting?"
I think it might be a product of D. Will sitting. Seth Curry had his shot. He had his shot in the first week there, and JJ Barea completely took it away from him. But the Mavericks are struggling early on in the season, and they look like a team that might miss the playoffs. Which is a rare thing for a Rick Carlisle led team. But it does look like they're going to be down the stretch. This might be one of those teams that some of these veterans like Deron Williams do end up sitting out later in the season. I mean, if he's already sitting out now, but come March, April, that's when you start seeing guys not contributing as much, especially on losing squads and veterans. So you might see some Seth Curry. He might get his chance again. Right now, I'd say temper expectations, but I could see him doing something down the line. I wouldn't rush to add him by any means.
Yeah, I'm not rushing to go after Seth Curry unless I'm in a completely deep league and I need 3 pointers. It is a product of D Will sitting. It's really not going to be someone that he's going to be hot. He's a guy who gets hot, and he needs to be in the right system. I think he's going to play a role for the team down the stretch of the season when a lot of these older guys start getting rest. But D Will, he's off often hurt. So he's going to get playing time. He's just not capitalizing on it, like Riaz said. So no, I don't think it's time to go roll and go run as fast as you can to go pick him up, but always keep him on your watch list, especially if you need points and 3 pointers. So Tim Carr, what happens with Gallinari, Will Barton, Gary Harris, and Wilson Chandler all fighting for minutes?
Well, I think that the front runners there are Gary Harris and Danilo Gallinari. I mean, those are the studs in the lineup. That's who Denver wants starting, and those guys are the ones that they're counting on now. What I'll say to that is that we've seen it before, and we see it all the time. Is that Danilo Gallinari has trouble staying on the court? So when that time comes, then you're going to see more Will Barton and more Wilson Chandler, as we already did early on in the season when Gary Harris was out. So. I would have a hard time seeing Gary Harris and Danilo Gallinari, staying healthy in the lineup all season. So you are going to get a taste of those other two, but I think that they'll be bigger contributors off the bench. But no, this is Gary Harris and Danilo Gallinari's starting role.
Yeah, it's going to be Gary Harris and Gallinari, just like Riaz said. I think Will Barnes going to have a role. With Wilson Chandler, he's getting like 30 minutes a night right now, or just under 30 minutes a night. And honestly, it's the last year of his contract. He's an often injured player, but he can score. He was rebounding. He was actually playing very well before he got injured once again. I think they're showcasing him, and I think they're going to try and do a package deal at some point with Fareed and Wilson Chandler to a team that would take him. But that I don't think you're going to see Wilson Chandler eating into the minutes of Danilo Gallinari. He's going to get a ton of minutes. I don't think he's eating into the minutes of Gary Harris because one, Gary Harris is a cornerstone player for that franchise. He can play some point, he can play some two, and he can even play some three because he has the size and ball handling ability to do so. So I think Gary Harris is just fine with his minutes, and Gallinari is just fine. Will Barnes is going to play that 6-minute role. He's always going to be up and down, and Wilson Chandler is really just a deep league play that can score some points. So I'm not too worried about that at all. All right, Riaz. I think it's that time now. I think we can start going down the initial reactions, and I'll let you have the first crack. Would you like to break down the Hawks snapping their 11-game losing streak to the Cavs, or would you like to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves taking the L in Brooklyn?
Let's start with the Hawks and Cavs. I feel like there's a lot of fantasy goodies in those games, so let's get to that game.
Whoops, as for some reason the audio is going off on my phone because League Pass wants to start playing the game as if I want to watch that game again. Here we go with the Atlanta Hawks getting the 110 to 106 victory. We'll start with their box score. Thabo Sefolosha played 35 minutes in the start for the Atlanta Hawks this season. He hit his first start of the season. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal on 2 of 6 shooting, and 1 3-pointer, and also turned over the ball 1 time. Paul Millsap did Paul Millsap things. 35 minutes, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, but no defensive stats to his name. He went 7 of 16 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, and also knocked down 2 3-pointers and turned the ball over 3 times. Dwight Howard keeps being a rebounding monster, as this is like an old DeAndre Jordan. 26 minutes, 7 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 blocks on 3 of 5 shooting, 1 of 4 from the free throw line. And he didn't knock down a 3-pointer, obviously so, but he also had 3 turnovers. Kent Bazemore has broken out of his slump. 32 minutes, 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists on 8 of 13 shooting, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, and chalking it up, 4 3-pointers. He only turned the ball over 1 time, so it was a very good night for the one Kent Bazemore. Dennis Schroeder played 32 minutes as the starting point guard for the Atlanta Hawks. 28 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists on 10 of 16 shooting, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 3 3-pointers, and turned the ball over 4 times. Player who played the most minutes off the bench, Tim Hardaway Jr., who has played great to start the season. 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 3 of 11 from the field, but he still gave his owners that 1 3-pointer that he surely promises every time he steps on the floor. Riaz, what were some of your takeaways from the Atlanta Hawks?
Well, it was nice to see Ken Bazemore. He had a rough start to the season. Was a buy low in week 1, and now he's rolling. So that's a player that a lot of people were kind of panicking on early on. But yeah, it's nice to see Ken Bazemore go out there. Dwight Howard did leave the game, but it was just like a lip cut, and I think he got 4 stitches on that. So that might be the reason why he didn't play as many minutes as he did tonight. And Mike Muscala, he came in there, and I believe he rolled. He actually had an amazing dunk. If you guys got a chance to see it, look it up on Twitter. But then he fell on his back and had to go to the locker room, but he came back. So not too much there, other than a good game for Bazemore.
Yeah, Bazemore is the huge standout from that game. He's been in a slump. He finally picked it up the game prior to that, I believe, against the Houston Rockets, and you knew he was going to have a good night. He just needed to see that ball go through the hole. If you were able to buy low on a guy like Kent Bazemore, you are getting a steal. There was no defensive stats to his name in this game. He's actually really good for some steals. So I think he's someone that you continue to place in your roster, and hopefully he can continue building off this night. Let's go ahead and move over to the Cleveland side, where King James could not lead his team to victory, and neither could Kyrie Irving or the Big Three, but the Big Three played a big factor in this game. LeBron James played 36 minutes, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals on 8 of 17 shooting, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, and he knocked down 2 3-pointers, and guess what? He only turned the ball over once. That's King James being efficient for you. 38 minutes for Kevin Love, 24 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 7 of 17 shooting, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, but he did not knock down a 3-point shot, and he only turned the ball over twice. Tristan Thompson had a dud of a night after picking up a lot of steam, being a rebounder for his team. 24 minutes, 0 points, just 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 steal. Did not take any shots, went to the free throw line and missed both attempts, and he did not have a turnover at least, but he had 3 fouls. J.R. Smith played 31 minutes, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals on 2 of 13 shooting. Yikes, that hurt someone's field goal percentage tonight. He did knock down 2 3-pointers. 13 of his shots, he took 13 shots, 10 of them were for 3-point range, but he did turn over the ball just 1 time. Kyrie Irving tried to put this team on his back, but could not do so. He played 39 minutes, led the team in scoring with 29 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block on 11 of 27 shooting, 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He could only knock down 1 3-point shot, and he only turned the ball over. Well, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't turn the ball over once. Coming off the bench to play the most minutes, Channing Frye, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist on 5 of 15 shooting, 3 3-pointers, and no turnovers. What were some of your takeaways from the players that we've named off, or someone that we didn't name off that you think is a huge standout that you got to keep your eye on, Rails?
Sure. Well, the big three did their thing, and that's pretty normal. But sometimes these role players, the two role players in the starting lineup, J.R. Smith and Tristan Thompson, they can be really streaky. They can burn you, and they can really help you out. So let's start with Tristan Thompson. He's good for the rebounds, he's good for the big man stats, but then he'll have duds and where he's uninterested, and he'll have nights like he did tonight, where he barely did anything and really hurt you. In big minutes that he played 25 minutes. He couldn't put the ball in the basket, and he only got 2 rebounds. So that's a big dud for him. And then J.R. Smith, we know that he's streaky. He'll go out there and he'll get you 5 3-pointers. And then there's some nights where he burns your field goal percentage like he did today. So he was off tonight. Those are just two players that are category specialists, and they didn't do too well. One other thing I did want to note, Channing Frye, I believe he has 10 threes now over his last 3 games. Just somebody that if you need 3-point help, on a Sunday or something like that, he can get in there and light it up depending on the matchup. It looks like when they turned to him, he was a +10 tonight on over/under, whereas Tristan Thompson was -14. So when they made that switch, they came back there a little bit in the game, but it wasn't enough to win tonight for the Cleveland Cavs with their first loss of the season.
Yeah, and I'll even bring this up as well. Iman Shumpert played pretty well in his 21 minutes. Did it across the board stat line for you: 5 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals on 2 of 4 shooting, and he even gave you a 3-pointer. He did turn the ball over twice in his limited minutes, but still, the fact that he's getting the minutes and the fact he's being productive is something that I feel is noteworthy. Just to kind of keep in the back of your head, if you ever need a defensive player that could knock you down at least 1 3-pointer in a game, he's someone you might want to keep your eye on in the deepest of leagues. Let's move over to Brooklyn, Minnesota, a game where the Minnesota Timberwolves were only 4-point favorites heading into the night, according to Vegas. And I'm telling you right now, it was a trap game. This was a game where I saw it and I was like, I can't choose Minnesota. It's too close. This team has too many talented players to only be favored by 4 points. It's a trap game. You cannot choose the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I did it. And good thing I did it, because the Brooklyn Nets, 119-110. So we're going to start with the Brooklyn Nets here. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson played 26 minutes as the team starter, scored 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. No defensive stats to his name, and that's normally his MO. But he shot 3 of 4 from the field. He was 6 of 6 from the free throw line. He even knocked down a 3-point shot, only turning the ball over twice. Trevor Booker played 27 minutes. He keeps putting up stats: 15 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, and a block on 7 of 13 shooting. 1 of 3 from the free throw line is a little bit disappointing, but he keeps taking that one attempt from 3-point range. He did not knock one down tonight, and only 1 turnover. Brook Lopez, he turned back the clock to like 2-3 years ago when everyone remembered how good he was, but he's just injury prone, so that's the thing that always puts a cap on his value. 27 minutes, 26 points, only 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 blocks, 10 of 16 from the field, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. He knocks down 3 3-pointers, and he did over, so that's a little bit of a disappointment. Bogdanovich hit the game-winning 3-point shot, finished the game with 27 minutes, 13 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, and a steal on 3 of 9 shooting, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, and 3 3-pointers. He did not turn over the basketball. Isaiah Whitehead started 25 minutes. Remember, this is a guy that Aaron said, go pick him up in your leagues. He's a guy that you don't need to be looking at. Kilpatrick, we all understand the value that's there. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, we know the value that's there, but Whitehead has had a light bulb go off. He's now the starter. He's someone that you need to look at. Remember, that is exactly what Aaron said on that Monday show, and I believe also on the waiver wire show. 25 minutes, 6 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists with a block. He was only 2 of 5 from the field, so he didn't kill you, but he didn't do great either. 2 of 2 from the free throw line. He did not get you a 3-pointer, but he only turned over the ball twice. So it's a pretty good line for Isaiah Whitehead in his second start of the season. Who played the most minutes off the bench? Well, I just talked about him. I cannot talk right now. Sean Kilpatrick, 27 minutes, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal on 4 of 7 shooting, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. He did not knock down a 3-point shot, but he had 6 turnovers in this game. Yikes, that had to hurt somebody, whoever had him. Riaz, I've now run down the line. I've run down the roster. I'm going to take a sip of my energy drink while you give me your thoughts on what you thought about the Brooklyn Nets tonight.
Well, it's interesting. We all know what Brook Lopez is going to give you. When he plays, he's good. When he doesn't play, that's frustrating because he's you took him with the high pick. Trevor Booker, it's really interesting. He might be one of the breakout candidates of the early season because he's an older veteran guy, but he's come out here right now and he's just done excellent. He's excellent output almost every single outing that he's had. So he's definitely somebody that needs to be owned, and he could be a heavy contributor in some of those games where Brooke Lopez is out. So stay the course with him. Maybe I was making a comment to one of my friends earlier that maybe he's the Marvin Williams this year. Maybe he's the steal that off that waiver wire for the whole season. So stay the course with Trevor Booker. RHJ, a lot of owners were getting frustrated with him and might have dropped him in your leagues. Definitely needs to be rostered. A lot of potential there. Installing the faith with the coaches. So keep him in those lineups. As you mentioned, Sean Kilpatrick, we know what he is. I do believe that he's a better end of the waiver wire type of guy. So I think that he also should be owned. Who else? Let's see. Isaiah Whitehead, as Aaron Brewski mentioned, excellent pickup at this point. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's funny because this doesn't seem like it's a good team. They're playing well right now. They're 3-4, but there's a lot of pieces and a lot of people get to play a lot of minutes on that team. So look at them for fantasy value, and also for those that like to look ahead in matchup leagues in March, they have a very good playoff schedule. They play 4 games every single week. So you definitely want to keep in mind with some of those guys. And late in the season, you'll get the Kilpatricks, you'll get the Bojan Bogdanoviches late in the season playing big minutes. So just keep an eye on those guys.
I took advantage of two players being out on waivers. One, Trevor Booker. I was able to snag him up last week. For some reason, he was still not owned in my league, and I was like, what? He's not owned? Oh, God, goodness. Go click and go get him real quick. And then the other person was, and this is as soon as I saw him got dropped, and I know the risk of him having him on my team while it's early in the season. So, I was like, oh, should I do it? I already have a ton of point guards, but I had Tim Frazier. I said, you know what? I'm handcuffing Tim Frazier to him. I grabbed Drew Holiday off of waivers. I did not let him clear waivers at all. I believe I had the number 3 waiver, and I picked him up. I didn't even let him become free agent. So I had him on my team. But Trevor Booker, you're right. I think this could be the Marvin Williams year. I mean, he's always proven to be good in his limited minutes, and when he does get the opportunity, he's normally a double-double guy. The thing that is really surprising me about him, as I'm pulling up his stats right now to get the full stats for the season. The thing that's surprising me though about Trevor Booker is how well he's playing defensively right now. At least from a statistics standpoint, I'm not gonna lie to you. I haven't watched a lot of Brooklyn Nets, but maybe I should because of how well Trevor Booker is playing and the fact that the team is only 1 game under 500. He's shooting 48% from the field, but again, the defensive stats, he's averaging 2 steals a game. He had 3 steals tonight. I think you're right. I think calling him the Marvin Williams of this season, I think that's a great comparison. I think he does have the potential to be that for sure. Going to the chat board real quick, Super Taco joins the chat and says Sabonis worthy of a pickup.
I do think that he's worth taking a look at. He's a rookie. He's coming off of a really good game, and so that's a guy that is on the radar. They traded away Ilyasova, so that opened some doors for him. Of course, they got Jeremy Grant back in return, but yeah, I think that he's worth taking a look there. It kind of depends on the size of your league. Definitely in deeper leagues, I would suggest him in 16-team, 14-team leagues. In 12-team, I think that he's worth the flyer just to see if he can continue to play this way. But rookies you tend to get better as the season goes on. So sure, I think that you could pick him up and see what he does. Give him a 2 or 3 game leash and just see how he does.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a 14-team league owner, or he needs to be owned in that size of league. I think 16-team, that's a 100% if I'm saying 14. I think he has the potential to get into standard leagues in that 12-team format. But I mean, over his last 3 games, 11.3 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.6 3-pointers. That's worthy of owning, especially in a deeper league. How consistent will that be? I'm not quite sure. Again, like you brought up Jeremy Graham, there's still Enes Kanter getting his minutes, but Kanter is one of those guys that is productive in his limited minutes, and he's that team's 6th man. So I don't see him eating too much into his time, but they now have a range of options there. So I don't think Sabonis is ever going to crack stability as a standard league play. But if you're in a 14-team league, I think that is something that you have to look at and go and pick him up if he's on your waiver wire right now and just ride the hot streak and see how long he can be consistent with the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, Riaz, you ready to move over to Minnesota?
Let's do it.
I'm going to shake this off. I'm going to take a quick sip. I'm going to do my little Ace Ventura Peck Detective breath. As we move on to Andrew Wiggins, who scored a career high 36 points to go along with 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal on 13 of 29 shooting, 4 of 8 from the free throw line, and also 6 3-pointers. That's right. That's the big numbers on hoop-ball.com when you're reading those blurbs. He did have 4 turnovers, but when he's giving you a stat line like that, the 4 turnovers are something that you can just kind of brush off of your shoulder. Gorgie Dang battled with foul trouble in this one, only played 19 minutes. He had 8 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. So he still produced across the board. Just you were hoping for a lot more, but the foul trouble got to him. 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. He did not knock down any 3-pointers and only turned the ball over once. But again, he was only not playing in 19 minutes. Karl Anthony Towns was a beast, a monster in the first half, and they got really quiet in the second. 32 minutes, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 8 of 15 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He did knock down a 3-pointer, and he also had 3 turnovers. Zach LaVine picked it up in the second half, but again, the other category stats or the sprinkle of other stats in other categories just was not there. He played 39 minutes, scored 17 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist on 5 of 16 shooting, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. He did knock down a 3-point shot and only had 1 turnover. Chris Dunn, 15 minutes, no points. He goes scoreless in this one. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. He was 0 of 1 from the field. This was a very quiet night for the rookie Chris Dunn. Tyus Jones came off the bench, 32 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 3 from the free throw line, 2 3-pointers, and only 3 turnovers. And that was the player who played the most minutes off the bench. What were your thoughts on this 1-5 Minnesota team? Were you a little bit shocked that Brooklyn was able to edge out the win?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't quite Trump over Hillary, but it's still it's still a pretty interesting outcome so far because everyone was looking at this Timberwolves team, now with Thibodeau, that they step it up defensively, but they just I don't know, they just kind of look lost out there, and I don't think that it has too much to do with Rubio being out either. I just think that they're kind of in a funk, defensively, so they're still figuring some things out. Uh, Andrew Wiggins, this is his breakout game. This is the best game he's ever played. I think that he could be a future star in this league. Tonight is one of those games that, he broke out and had 6 3-pointers. Of course, you're not expecting a career best line every single night, but he's definitely a guy that, could provide better value than you might have gotten him for. Chris Dunn, one thing to watch for here is that Chris Dunn, he didn't play his full slate of minutes with only 16 because he was being outplayed by Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones came in there and he had a very good line, as you mentioned, and he had 5 steals. This is not any panic so far on Chris Dunn or anything where you're rushing to pick up Tyus Jones, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. If they go with the hot hand here and they keep riding Tyus Jones, then maybe he is worth it, at least in a deep league, maybe a 16-team league. He might be worth a pickup. So keep an eye out on the point guard situation because when Ricky Rubio comes back, who knows what the situation is by then. So keep an eye on the point guard situation here in Minnesota. But the rest of the bench there, Shabazz, that's just not a guy that I really want to be picking up or anything like that. Bajelica and Aldrich aren't really worth much either. So really look into that starting lineup and then kind of watch that point guard spot.
I want to once again thank everyone who is here joining us here on Fantasy NBA Tonight Live on this Tuesday edition. I know there's a lot going on. You have the presidential election that's looking like a bit of a shocker here. I think a lot of jaws are dropping right now. I see Twitter is blowing up. There has been no official word yet on who is winning, but people's hearts are pounding and people are shaking. And I am not going to lie, I am one of them. I think this is just the Andrew Wiggins, but they need to start winning. I mean, when are you going to start seeing the wins? Tom Thibodeau is not going anywhere, but is it because Ricky Rubio is out? Now, there is news that Ricky Rubio has made, strong steps forward, according to Tom Thibodeau, and I'm paraphrasing that because I don't remember the exact wordage, but he's missing the next 2 games. What do you need to see out of Chris Dunn for him to get consistent minutes, or do you think that they're just making sure Ricky Rubio is healthy for a potential trade later on down the road, and that the injury is may not be as concerning as most people think it is?
I think you hit it on the head. They just need to win games. If they're not winning games, and Chris Dunn is out there at the point as he was tonight in 16 minutes, he absolutely didn't contribute much at all to that team. And so if they're not winning games, and he's responsible for being the quarterback out there, in a point guard spot for a team that's losing, then yeah, his time is going to be cut short, and they'll go back to a veteran who can handle the ball. So that's how he keeps his spot, and that's how keeps his value up.
All right, are you ready to move on to the next game here, Riaz?
Let's do it.
Let's go at it as my phone wants to skip. We're going to go to the game of the night so far, Memphis versus Denver. The game where it looked like we were going to see a Denver Nuggets win. Unfortunately, the Nuggets, who were 500 heading into the night, are now one game under. And actually, they were above 500, weren't they? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
they were 500.
we're at
They,
500. Yeah.
they were at 500, and now they are under 500 by just one game. Sorry about that, guys. I'm reading that wrong. Here we go. What side do you want to start off with? Do you want to start with the L, or do you want to start off with the winning team, the Memphis Grizzlies?
Let's get on a high note. Let's start with the winning team. I think some of us need that today.
All right, here we go. Chandler Parsons in his second game of return plays 20 minutes, has 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal on 4 of 8 shooting, which is much better than his comeback night. 1 of 1 from the free throw line. He did not knock down a 3-point shot and only had 2 turnovers. JaMychal Green, 25 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist on 3 of 7 shooting. He did not do anything from the free throw line. He did not knock down a 3-pointer. He did have 2 turnovers. This was a very quiet night and a dud of a night for JaMychal Green owners. Marc Gasol, 30 minutes, 19 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block on 9 of 14 shooting, 1 of 3 from the free throw line, and only 1 turnover. James Ennis started I believe he actually started only the second half. I don't think he actually started the whole game. I think he replaced Tony Allen, if I do remember myself correctly, but I could be wrong. Or maybe you replaced him into the game. I can't remember the complete news. Anyways,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he started the second half for in the last game on Sunday. Yeah.
oh, it was the last game, so he started tonight. So, anyways, starter James Ennis gets 32 minutes, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 steals. He also had a knockdown clutch 3-point shot in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter to help get the Memphis Grizzlies their win. He was 2 of 4 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 1 of 3 from 3-point range, the 1 3-pointer that I brought up earlier. He did battle foul trouble, but he only had 2 3-pointers. Mike Conley did a little bit of everything in this one. 30 minutes, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals. He did not shoot well from the floor on 4 of 15 shooting, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. He did not knock down a 3-point shot, and he also had 3 turnovers. Vince Carter came off the bench and played 30 minutes, and man, did he turn back the clock. 20 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks. Can we just do it one time? That guy is just, he's been sanity for a reason. And even at his old age, he's still doing a little bit there. 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 3-pointers, and no turnovers. I think he's going to be my player of the night in this game. But Riaz, I'm throwing it to you. What stands out to you?
Well, it's nice to see that Marcus Hull. He was one of the guys that everyone was worried about coming into the season, coming off a big injury and being out for such a long time and last season, and still not sure coming back this season. But it's nice to see that he's out there and he's the man still for the Memphis Grizzlies. So it's encouraging to see him and Conley go out there and play 30 minutes each, and do fairly well. So that stands out to me. That's something that you want to see moving forward out of guys that you probably spent a pretty high pick on. And of course, I want to mention Vince Carter. He's not a guy that you're picking up. He's maybe a Sunday guy that you want to. Yeah. Let's do it. VC. I have a soft spot for VC actually myself. During my bachelor party, he hit a buzzer beater for the Mavericks to beat the San Antonio Spurs a couple years back, and that was during my bachelor party. And we were going crazy, screaming VC, the rest of the trip. So I have a big soft spot for Vince Carter, but no, he's not someone you're picking up unless it's Sunday and you need a scorer randomly, and it's a very deep league. So don't rush to go pick him up. But there's not much else to take away from this other than it's nice to see that Chandler Parsons is back in there. So the Grizzlies are getting healthier. They get the big win against Denver. And going forward, they should be getting close to full strength. So this is encouraging to see. Once Tony Allen comes back, then they'll be whole.
You think Zach Randolph ever takes over the starting job again? I mean, he's playing pretty good. 13.7 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals per game. I mean, he's playing pretty well to start the season. Again, tonight,
Yeah,
even tonight, he had 16 and 8.
yeah. I mean, he is doing a pretty good job. Maybe they like him coming off the bench right now. Let's see how that plays out. But Zebo's doing a pretty good job. So by any means, I still think that he'll still play around the same amount of minutes. Maybe see an uptick of 3 or 4 minutes if he does earn a starting spot. But so far so good.
Let's move over to Denver because I think this is where you're going to see a lot of the conversation because this is where it's going to be what about Jokic? What about Nurkic? And get this 11 players played for the Denver Nuggets tonight. Just he went to the entire roster. He only didn't play 2 players, Michael Malone. Let's start off with Danilo Gallinari, who actually had a good night. He played 38 minutes. Mike Malone, be careful. This guy's injury prone. Don't play him so much. But yeah, I guess in this one, 38 minutes, 21.7 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a block on 5 of 11 shooting, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 3 of 5 from 3-point range, and only 2 turnovers. This was a very nice stat line from Danilo Gallinari. Nikola Jokic battled foul trouble in this one, but still was able to put together a pretty nice line in 28 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. He was only 4 of 10 from the field, but he was able to knock down 3 of 4 from the free throw line and knock down one really important 3-point shot in the closing minutes of the game. He also did not turn over the basketball. Yusuf Nurkic, 28 minutes, 11.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block on 5 of 7 shooting. That was really good. 1 of 1 from the free throw line. He did not shoot any 3-pointers. The disappointing stat line from his game tonight, though, is the 6 turnovers. That's one. You never like to see that from your big man. And 2, he was just making some very bad decisions on the pass. So I do think you're going to see a bit more minutes go to Nurkic and to Jokic with Chandler and Barton out. So they're going to have to find ways that you start using them a bit more. But in that passing, when they do the high post pass, I think they need to start using Jokic a bit more, and I think they know that. I think they realized it after tonight. There was passes where Nurkic did where you basically threw it at the feet of Danilo Gallinari on a wide open lane. So you're going to notice that I think a little bit more as the season progresses on, and as Jokic starts to get acclimated to that power forward position. Gary Harris played 30 minutes. Talked about him a little bit earlier on the show. 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal on 5 of 13 shooting, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. He knocked down 2 3-pointers, but he did turn over the ball 3 times. Emmanuel Mudiay, what was he going to do after his historic night? 35 minutes, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. He did not get any defensive stats, but he was 7 of 13 from the field, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. He did knock down a 3-point shot, but guess what? He was back to his old ways. 7 turnovers in this game. Player who played the most minutes off the bench, Kenneth Faried, 27 minutes, 5 points, 11 rebounds, 1 assist, and the Manimal even got 1 block on 2 of 4 shooting, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. He even tried a 3-pointer, did not go in, but he didn't turn over the basketball. What were some of the big standouts for you in this game, Riaz?
Well, it's that Nurkic and Jokic, tug of war that they've got going on. Whoever drafted Nurkic is really happy with the value that they're getting out of their guy, especially right now. He's playing at times better than Jokic, and so the fact that people spent maybe a second or third round pick on Jokic is just not boding well so far. So Jokic has a ton of talent, and we've seen it. We've seen first round games out of him already this season. You're hoping for more of that moving on. It looks like Denver's a work in progress, so hopefully they figure this out. You're definitely holding on to him, so you're just going to have to ride it out and hope that that situation works itself out. But to those who drafted Nurkic, kudos to you because right now you're definitely reaping the rewards there. As we talked a little bit about that whole situation with the shooting guard and small forward with Gary Harris and Gallinari. Those are the guys to own. Those are the guys you want to keep. And of course, Chandler and Barton, they're working their way in and out of the lineup. It seems like these guys are kind of rotating in with injuries and here and there, and so you're going to get some more of that down the line because we already know that Gallinari is an injury-prone player. So keep an eye out for those guys. It's nice to see that Emmanuel Mudiay, followed up a game with another pretty nice shooting night, but he is who he is. He's going to get you those turnovers, and he's not a great shooter by any means. So I wouldn't expect this to keep up all season, but it is nice to see that he is improving upon his rookie season. So definitely a better player this time around as a sophomore, but still not a great shooter, and turnovers is what you're going to get from him.
Yeah, he's better suited for 8 cat leagues, 100%. With Emmanuel Moody, I think Gary Harris. Like we said, we talked about him enough in the beginning of the show. You guys want to know about Gary Harris? Go ahead and check the back, or leave your live questions down in the live chat. And the same thing with Wilson Chandler, Will Barton, and the Daniel Gallinari situation. I don't think that they're taking away from Gallinari or Harris's minutes. I'm talking about Barton and Chandler. I think another good thing we have to give applaud to is after going scoreless for a long part of the early part of the season, for the long early part of the season, Jamal Murray, 3 games in a row. He's made some shots. He's averaging 9 points. He's shooting right around 45.8%. Not bad, not bad. Maybe if he can get some minutes, he can become a little bit more consistent. He'll see time. But and I think they keep talking about this really small lineup out there. They talked about it all through the offseason. We might start seeing it. You never know. Maybe you start seeing Gary Harris at the 3, Gallo at the 4, Jamal Murray at the 2 with Emmanuel Mudiay. That's a lineup that I would love to be able to see, that small ball lineup. We actually have a question in the live chat from Xiang Lam. It says, you think Collison is just easing into the starting lineup, or they are co-playing with Lawson?
That's going to be a better question for Vince. But to me, I mean, yeah, they're just easing him into the lineup. I don't think they don't look as good as they do with Lawson out there. I don't think that they want him to be a permanent solution by any means. So yeah, I think Collison's just easing his way back in.
Ty Lawson played 20 minutes tonight. Darren Collison, I'm pulling it up now, played 27 minutes tonight. So that's kind of where you're looking at it. I do think that Collison needs to be the starting point guard for this team. I think he's the best fit for this team, as we saw tonight. The way he can pass the basketball, he can knock down shots. He's a fearless shooter. Ty Lawson is afraid to shoot the basketball. His passing has been there, that's fine, but he's kind of having a Rajon Rondo type of feel on this team. Like, he's not making the team better. And honestly, defensively, because he's not getting any stops, he's making the team worse. So offensively, he's not pushing the needle anywhere, and defensively, he's being a problem. So that means he's bad for a team. So I definitely think Collison's going to get his minutes. I do think they're going to be easing him into the starting lineup. I think this is his very first game back. You can see him in the starting lineup in their next game. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see that at all. But being that there was only a 3-game week, even with Collison's return, he played well. He was 4 of 9 from the field for 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. And again, that 1 3-point shot and the 1 rebound. But again, I think you don't even play him this week. He only had 3 games this week, especially if you're in a weekly setup. But yeah, I do think you're going to see him being the starter. Yuha says, are you guys still low on MKG? Dan mentioned him during the podcast today, and his opinions seem to have changed a bit.
I haven't been low on MKG. I thought he was a really good flyer late in the drafts, especially in standard leagues formats. He's gotten a steal in every single outing that he's had so far. And in fact, the other game he only played 19 minutes because he had that sore lower back issue. But he's still gotten a steal in every single game he's played, and almost has a block in every single game he's played. He's averaging more than 1 block per game. This guy gets you the defensive stats. He gets you rebounds for a small forward spot. And he can score the basketball on nights that he gets hot. So yeah, I think that MKG is a great player to have, especially at the end of your team, because he's a waiver wire. He was a waiver wire guy. I don't think he's much of one now, but if he is available, I think that he's worth owning. Let's see how the sore lower back plays out. He actually came out of the game, came back in, and then decided that he couldn't give it a go. Then he left again. That seems like a day-to-day issue, but you know how those things can linger, going forward. But I wouldn't worry about that too much. I do think that MKG needs to be owned for sure.
Yeah, he's still listed as questionable for Wednesday's game, but I will say this: I'm low on him because he's never going to exceed what he always normally is, which is a on and off the waivers, the end of your bench type of guy. But he's starting off the season strong. I mean, if you need the defensive stats, he's going to be that guy. But he can get quiet, and that's the thing with MKG. You'll never see him skyrocket into anything. And so that's why I'm low on a guy like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Yes, he can produce across the board. The low turnovers are nice. He doesn't knock down any 3-point shots, and even when he does score, he's getting what per game right now. Could you see that going down throughout the season? Yeah. And the other thing you got to worry about when having him on your team is an injury-prone player. When's the last time you saw him be healthy for an entire season? So that's the problems that I think about when I'm looking at Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. It's not that you can't help your team. It's not like when you're looking at him, there shouldn't be right now from the way he's playing. There's no reason why he should be out on waivers right now. If he's out there on waivers, you need to go pick him up. You need to have him on your team. I'm not high on him at all. I think Marvin Williams is still the guy that I have above him, and I think that's a great question. Who would you rather have, Marvin Williams or Michael Kidd-Gilchrist?
Oh, for me, it's definitely Marvin Williams. We saw what he did last year, and he's continuing to do something like that right now. And as you were saying, MKG does have a habit of slipping in and out of relevance at times. So yeah, I would definitely rather have Marvin Williams. I think that he's just more of a machine. Every single night, you know what you're going to get. So yeah,
The
definitely.
problem with Marvin Williams, unlike with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, is he's been hurting your field goal percentage this season, where Michael Kidd-Gilchrist has been filling it up, but he's not knocking down any 3-point shots. So you're kind of finding between the two what they provide. It's not like they can't be on the floor together. But yeah, I'm glad you agree that you choose Marvin Williams over Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. All right, Riaz, that is our show. We still don't have an answer on who our commander in chief is. We will know by the end of tonight. But I want to thank everyone who has joined us here on Fantasy NBA Tonight Live for our final free live show edition on Tuesday night. Riaz, let the fans out there, one, know where they can find you online. Two, what they're going to be expecting from you later this week on hoop-ball.com. And three, when is that one-on-one game going to happen between you and your brother? And are you going to really announce who won, or no matter what, are you winning that game?
Man, we need to do that during Thanksgiving. You guys can find me on Twitter at RiazD. That's at RIAZD on Twitter. I do the daily dish, so you'll see me grinding that out sometime in the wee hours of the night tonight or sometime in the morning tomorrow. So you'll get your Wednesday's daily dish, a recap of the games from tonight. And then, of course, that one-on-one matchup, we're hoping to do that sometime maybe during Thanksgiving. I think me and Zane are going to connect during the Thanksgiving weekend. So hopefully we'll be able to do something there, and we might tell you. It kind of depends on how the game goes. We might tell you if what the results are. So we look forward to that.
I'll tell you this right now. There's going to be a basketball game recorded and posted on this hoop-ball.com channel. It might be the Riaz game. If they record it and they want to publish it, that's fine. But I promise you this. There will be a game on this channel at some point between two people that got hinted a little bit during the Cause and Brew show. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to say what's at stake. What I will say is it's going to be one entertaining game, and don't count out the little guy. That's right. I'm leaving it at that. Follow him on Twitter at Riaz. You guys can follow me on all social media platforms at VM Center. Follow the site at Hoop Ball Tweets. Bookmark the site hoop-ball.com. I lost my train of thought because I'm looking at the election here. Vote. If you didn't vote, go vote, even though the polls are closed and the voting's over. But if you're watching this, you don't know that just because I mentioned it up. Vote. I just paused the show for no reason. That's the show. It's Tuesday. We will not be with you tomorrow. It will be Dan Vespers and Jason something. I think I can't remember. It's going to be Dan Vespers both on the Daily Show and on the Night Show. You guys will be getting rid of me for Wednesday night as I spend time with the fam bam. Follow me on Twitter, like I said, at VM Center with all your fantasy basketball questions at RIAZ, the capital D, Riaz Dhanani. And until next time, everyone, see you later and good night.
Peace.